At the temple of Pashupatinath, Hindu pilgrims send their dead to the spiritual world. The people of Nepal recall the day not so long ago when 9 members of their royal family were dispatched from here. Now, the survivors of that regal dynasty have melted away. Long lived the royals. They've been absolute rulers here for most of the last 240 years. But what's happened in Nepal in the last few months has been a revolution in every sense of the word. Banished as the world's only Hindu monarch, driven from the palace by his own subjects. The Nepalese were fed up with the king who saw himself as a god. You've chucked him out of the palace.
There is not any sympathy among the masses to the monarchy.
Now the Nepalese are under the spell of a new leader who compares himself with some of history's most notorious megalomaniacs. He's a man whose message seems irresistible, even though he's responsible for the deaths of thousands of his own people.
We could be heading for a lot of trouble. We could even be heading for a civil war. I don't know.
The breathtaking beauty of the Annapurna Range masks a shocking event that was largely unreported in the outside world. The people here had lived in peace for generations. And yet one night in early 2004, they turned on each other with incredible brutality.
It was a human wave attack, which is a strategy they had perfected. You go in with lots of villagers shouting slogans and, with flaming torches, actually out in the open, just to put psychological pressure on the defenders.
The village of Beni had been surrounded by 5,000 men and women ragtag fighters. Like every other operation, the attack was to be filmed for propaganda purposes. They were followers of the doctrine of Chinese revolutionary Chairman Mao. Their quest was a communist takeover of Nepal. Over the next 10 hours, police posts and government buildings were attacked and dozens of officials murdered.
The fighting went on all night. So the idea was to attack, paralyze the government machinery, give a very big blow to the morale of the security forces guarding the district headquarters, and then move out.
The Maoist tactics were employed in dozens of attacks across Nepal in a 10-year insurgency. Today, the police station at Beni has been rebuilt. The town bears few scars, although the people still suffer.
This is the district office.
Krishna Lal Shrestha was a caretaker on that night when mortars rained from the sky.
बाहिर निकालेपछि अनि चाहिँ गेटबाट चाहिँ एउटा खुट्टा चाहिँ भित्र एउटा खुट्टा बाहिर हुँदाखेरि चाहिँ पिठोमा चाहिँ यहाँ गोली लाग्यो गोली लागेपछि म ढलेपछि अनि खुट्टामा बम लाग्यो ए अलि मन खिन्न हुन्छ के गर्ने अब चाहिँ जे भने भइहाल्यो
The Maoist insurgency was to change Nepal forever. It was to be the beginning of the end of the monarchy. King Gyanendra suspended parliament and wound back democratic reforms. He had now turned other moderate Nepalese people against him.
It's a shelter for around 20 girls. Right now we have around 17. And most of the kids are from difficult backgrounds.
In one of the poorest and least developed nations on earth, Pramada Shaha takes me to a children's shelter run by her welfare agency.
Either they've been displaced by the conflict, or they've lost parents, or some of them have been abused. themselves, or they're victims of domestic violence. So they come from different backgrounds, and some of them are just pure and simple needy. So, you know, what they would get.
And there's something else she's known for. Pramada Shaha is a member of the former royal family, having married King Gyanendra's nephew.
Whenever I thought of sovereignty, I thought of the monarchy. And the people, I think, did look at them as a, you know, foundation of security for Nepal being Nepal. Now, at this point, I'm not even sure we are going to be Nepal.
The Maoists were intent on destroying the monarchy, but the family were doing a good job of that themselves. Gyanendra had only come to power after his brother the king was shot dead along with 8 other royals on one night in 2001. The gunman was the king's own son, a drunken Crown Prince Dipendra, upset because he couldn't marry the woman he loved. Dipendra turned the weapon on himself and died 2 days later.
I mean, he had threatened to do this, and when he actually did it, then we realized, my God, maybe we should have taken him seriously, but no one takes such threats seriously, I guess.
In the countryside, the Maoist insurgency was taking hold. Children were taken away to re-education camps, their headmasters murdered. Anyone who didn't think the same way as the Maoists was executed. Behind them was a shadowy and enigmatic figure, so mysterious, rumours suggested he didn't actually exist. But he was real, and he called himself Prachanda, meaning the Fierce One. When I met him in Kathmandu, he told me he never actually fought himself. It turned out that the man calling every shot of Nepal's class war was a snappy-dressing middle-class teacher and father of 3.
Well, it's 2008. Do you think what the world really needs now is another communist country?
Right now, we are not fighting for socialism or communism, as some people think like that. Just we are fighting against feudalism to establish a democratic republic.
But 13,000 of your own countrymen and women have died. That's some price to pay, isn't it?
These 30,000 people, although we are very sorry for that, but we feel that in comparison with the history, to fight against the feudalism, it is not a high price, you know.
Well, we decided to morph Prachanda into Stalin because of his statements in which he said that the media should be controlled, and he threatened one particular newspaper for being critical of the party.
Kunda Dixit is a publisher and outspoken commentator, and someone who isn't about to be intimidated. I don't think Stalin liked to be made fun of. Do you think Prachanda does?
No, Prachanda is okay, actually. He seems to have a sense of humor. He's probably one of the few Maoists in the Politburo who actually laughs. But he's also a guy who told us in an interview, if you're going to eliminate anyone, don't torture them. Just put a gun on his temple and shoot them.
After laying down their arms, the Maoists won more seats than anyone in April's elections. Now the revolutionary has come in from the cold, and in a truly extraordinary turn of events, Prachanda, the Fierce One, finds himself the first Prime Minister of the Republic of Nepal. The Maoists wasted no time eliminating the biggest enemy of all, the symbol of everything they despised. The king had his marching orders.
Well, how do you think the king is feeling right now?
He may have some sorts of self-critical feeling. I think so. The monarchy was the symbol of feudalism and autocracy, and we wanted to have a democratic republic to empower the masses of people. You know, there are so many kinds of oppression was there.
So what they couldn't achieve with a very bloody war, they achieved in a very short time, relatively non-violently, to overthrow and sideline the king. A lot of anti-Maoists also voted for the Maoists. Was the fact that, okay, if we send them to government, maybe they won't go back to the jungle.
Kathmandu's royal palace remains heavily guarded, but its king slipped away in the middle of the night. This is Gyanendra's new home, a hunting lodge in the foothills of the city. Officials held an open house just before his former Royal Highness moved in. They wanted to flaunt the modesty of his new abode. On the day we called, it was Gyanendra's birthday, and a steady stream of loyalists turned up at the gates to leave their wishes. But the last king of Nepal has not been seen in public since he lost his job.
He's relaxed. He's not doing anything, covert, or he's not starting an underground movement as people would like to think. So he seems to be relaxed and watching the situation and just staying back. What else can he do?
Mentally, economically,
Her family no longer royal, Pramada Shaha is learning to live with new realities. In her job running a welfare agency, she encounters the new Maoist women's minister.
What's it like being with a Maoist?
First time for me.
I guess you have to get used to this.
Yeah, we do.
The foothills of the Chitwan region in the south of the country seem as far as you can get from the Maoist makeover in Kathmandu. The farmers here gave up sons and daughters to fight in the revolution. Prachanda's People's Liberation Army is still in their midst. We drove deep into remote country to visit one of dozens of remaining camps. Weapons have been confiscated by the UN, but this is still a military force by any other measure.
Hello, Trevor's my name from the Australian Broadcasting Corporation.
Their commander told me his camp of 3,000 men and women is here to stay. Maoist leaders might have relinquished their armed struggle for suits in Parliament, but it's a message that apparently hasn't got through to these foot soldiers. On the sidelines, I met 22-year-old Ranjana, a fighter since she was 17. A young woman convinced there's still a war to fight.
मेरो क्षमताले भ्याएसम्म मैले त्यति गर्न पर्छ भनेर म यसरी अहिलेसम्म लागेको छु अब अझै पनि लाग्ने प्रतिबद्धता गरेको छु जबसम्म मेरो स्वास्थ्य स्थितिले साथ दिन्छ त्यसैसम्म सैन्य फान्डमा गर्ने त्यसपछि पनि सक्दिन भने जुन ठाउँबाट भए पनि म देश र दुनियाकै निम्ति गरेर मर्छु भन्ने कुरा मैले एकदम आत्मविश्वास आफूमा जागेको छु
The Maoist leadership has pledged to disband these camps and rehabilitate the people. But for now, they're here in case Prachanda needs them again. This is a nation of two armies, these Maoist fighters and the Nepalese regular army they battled for 10 years.
The Maoists are finding it more difficult than we thought to make that transition from being a violent guerrilla force that killed anyone that didn't agree with them to being a legitimate political party that believes in nonviolence and pluralism and tolerates dissent.
They inherit a Nepal ravaged by conflict. The insurgency kept many tourists away. They're the biggest source of foreign income here. Prachanda has pledged to bring the visitors back, dispense with the ideology and face a few 21st century practicalities about running a country.
We have empowered all those oppressed people. Right now, we are in the position that we can mobilize the masses of people to rebuild this country.
So is it fair to say the tiger has changed its stripes?
Yeah, you can say like that, yeah.
So you're generally optimistic for this country or pessimistic?
A bit of both, I would say, at the moment. I really feel sad that one has to, you know, come to this position by stepping on the lives of 13,000 people.
After 2.5 centuries, the survivors of the ruling Shah dynasty have passed on into a life of civilian obscurity. Their demise was as much their own making as the onslaught of Maoists who won influence first by the gun, then by the ballot box. From this kingdom in the clouds comes the world's newest republic.
Now to Nepal's giant neighbour, China, and the latest revolution unfolding there. China has consigned Mao to the rubbish bin of history, along with the social values of his time. Eric Campbell reports on sex and the city, Beijing style.
It's a hot weekend in Beijing and the fun is just getting started. The parks fill with young people relaxing from the working week. But some desperate parents are here for business.
他说你别给我找，我不着急。他说我菜朵太小，我着急，我恨不得给他俩人搞1年，搞2年，不就结婚了吗？
This is a love market, one of many that have sprung up in parks across the city. Thousands come each weekend to try to matchmake their wayward children.
听说您说孩子身体倒行，不胖也是吧？不胖啊，挺胖。还行，那就行。别害怕，我们还是说害怕胖，因为他就110斤，他就害怕胖。
Parents display their children's photos and exchange vital statistics on prospects and income.
他1米6几？1米64、65。啊，我们1米72，行吧，那个。那让他们自己说呗。党员吗？不是党员，我们家对政治任务不不是，没事，我是问问，我好回去跟孩子小说。对，没事，没事，那不要紧。
In this land of the one-child policy, they fear they could miss out on that most precious thing, a grandchild. But increasingly, their Gen Y children see the world through different eyes. As night falls, Mia Shuang Li is getting ready for what some might call the meat market. At 24, she has no interest in marrying for at least 10 years. Like all her friends, she just wants to have fun.
Sex is a lot of fun. Sex is obviously more fun than movies or other kind of entertainment. And people nowadays are crazy for entertainment. They feel this because the pressure in their works are so heavy, and they feel they deserve to be entertained after dealing with so much stress. so they would go out and get sex just like a good burger or a good sandwich.
Mia and her best friend Queenie Wong Ching let us join them on the weekend prowl.
Friday night is a preview. You go out on Friday nights and you get yourself in the mood. And on Saturday night, it's the actual action. So you actually go there, and if you see a guy you like, you get his phone number and you think what's the best way to approach him or to try to date him. And you do that, you ask him out.
In Beijing's bar district of Sanlitun, there's plenty of matching going on, but not much that will lead to marriage or even a phone call a week later. Now, this isn't just a simple generational clash, because nowhere on earth has changed as much as China has in the past 30 years, especially here in the capital. And for the parents of Beijing's 20-somethings, life wasn't just different, it was like a different planet. From the 1950s to the early 80s, China's Marxist fervour was matched only by its social prudishness. Unmarried women were effectively sexless means of production. Western dress and music were banned, so was sex outside marriage.
I remember when I was working at the factory, a colleague of mine was caught having an affair, and he was sent to 3 years in labour camp.
As a teenager in the early 80s, Li Jiazhang had to leave school to work in a rocket factory.
When you apply to get married, you had to get permission from your work unit. And before you get that, and you'll get to go to the hospital to have a checkup, and including if you're still a virgin, it will state you're still a virgin or not.
In less than a generation, Beijing women have traded Mao suits for fake Chanel. Most are staying single till their late 20s, focused more on careers than relationships. At 23, Queenie is already a magazine editor with a dozen employees.
I think as a mature girl, I gotta sell my own things first and then consider love. Because love is not a guarantee for your life, so you have to survive in the society first.
During a break from their busy schedules, she and Mia agreed to meet Li Jia for a coffee and chat.
Oh, it's just amazing. They're both so young, so worldly, and so experienced with men. I was rather
was different
innocent. For you? I don't think I got kissed before I was 22. And now looking back, what a waste of time.
Li Jia is now a well-travelled divorced mother of two and a successful writer. But she struggled for her freedom, leading pro-democracy protests in 1989.
Today's young people, they are just so different from us. They grew up in a very affluent society and no political turmoil, and the vast majority of the urban girls, they are one-child children. They always get lots of attention from family. So they have to have such a strong sense of entitlement. You know, they're certainly not shy. They're very self-centered and very hedonistic. Never shy in pursuing their money, pursuing material wealth, and pursuing career, love, and sex.
You don't agree? You're not self-centered?
I am not self-centered at all. In country, I feel I have so much to offer. I have so much to give. I have so much to give to the people I love.
We just don't want to be limited by anything else, like what limited our last generation, basically, right?
Back at the love markets, anxious parents aren't giving up trying.
完了，听别人说这地方有父母来给相亲的，所以我们就着急了。年龄大了哈，那女孩不像男孩，男孩大点无所谓哈，女孩大了就着急了。
But in China's new economy, this is one market that's faltering. As young women chase the uncertain dreams of sex and the city.